It is the 18th century, and life for some of the coastal inhabitants of the Philippines was anything but idyllic. For without warning, they could be attacked by the merciless Ilanun, the raiders of the Sulu Sea.
When the Ilanun captured people, they would bore a hole through their palm, put a string through the palm of each person.
These raiders were fearsome and fearless in battle, even against better armed, technologically superior colonial forces.
In the shadowy waters of the Sulu Sea, a legendary group of pirates and sea raiders once struck fear into the hearts of European colonizers and Asian traders alike. Meet the Raiders of the Sulu Sea. Raiders of Sulu Sea refers to a historical phenomenon where indigenous groups from the Sulu archipelago in the southern Philippines, primarily the Tausug, Ilanon, and Samal people, engage in widespread maritime raiding and piracy throughout the region, particularly during the Spanish colonial period, targeting settlements in the Philippines, Borneo, and other parts of the Southeast Asia for plunder and slave-taking. Secondary sources paint a complex picture of these raids, highlighting their motivations as a mix of economic desperation, resistance to Spanish rule, and established culture practices, often facilitated by their skilled boat-building and seafaring capabilities. Now, why is this topic important? The Raiders of the Sulu Sea topic is significant in Philippine history because it refers to the maritime raiding activities of indigenous groups, primarily the Ilanon people, who operated in the Sulu Sea during the Spanish colonial period, often attacking coastal settlements and engaging in slave trading, highlighting the complex power dynamics and resistance against colonial rule in the southern Philippines. Zamboanga City sits at the tip of the southernmost peninsula of the Philippines, strategically located along an important sea route between the north and south regions of the Philippines. Its geographical advantage made it valuable to the Catholic Spaniards who colonized it in the 16th century. Spanish colonists built forts to protect their interests in the city and to discourage potential invaders. Raiders are actually indigenous people defending their way of life against an oppressor. These raiders are Samal Balangigi, Ilanon, and Tausug people. And here are some facts about them. They came from Muslim tribes, considered brutal pirates, bandits, freedom fighters, excellent mariners, and expert sailors. They could go into shallow waters. Builders of the most superior seagoing vessels of their time, fearless warriors and skilled fighters, deadly swordsmen. They were called Moros by Spanish. They used compasses, brass telescopes, and the stars to navigate. Samal Balangigi, or also known as Northern Sama or Northern Sinama, is an ethno-linguistic group living on the Greater Sulu Archipelago and the southern and western coastal regions of the Zamboanga Peninsula in Mindanao. They are mostly found in Lutangan and Olotanga Islands in Zamboanga del Sur, Basilan Island of the Sulu Archipelago, coastal areas of Zamboanga Coast Peninsula, and as far north as Luzon, particularly in White Beach near Subic Bay, Zambales, are considered to be part of a larger group of Sama Bajau and speak the Balangigi dialect, specialized in state-sanctioned maritime trading, attacking Southeast Asian coastal settlements and trading vessels. Next is we have the Ilanon, called Iranon and Ilianon as well, are closely related culturally and linguistically to the Maranao and Maguindanao. The Ilanon language is part of the Austronesian family that is most closely related to Maranao. When the Spaniards left, however, contact between the Maranao and Ilanon decreased. The majority of Ilanon live along the coastline in the towns of Nulingi, Parang, Matanog, and Barilla in Maguindanao Province, Mindanao, along the Iliana Bay coast, north of the mouth of the Putangi River, and all the way to Sibugay Bay in Zamboanga del Sur, and even the western coastal plain of Borneo. Ilanon, a Malay term meaning pirate, is appropriate for the people of this ethnic group who were once regarded as the fiercest pirates in the Malay area. Lastly, we have the Tausug or the warriors, the dominant ethnic group in the Sulu archipelago because of their political and religious institutions. The Tausug occupy Hulu, Indanan, Siasi, and Patikul in Sulu. There are also scattered settlements in Zamboanga del Sur and Cotabato, and all the way to Malaysia, which has an estimated Tausug population of more than 110,000. Tausug is a combination of Tau or person and Suog or the old name of Hulu Island. Traditionally, they are sailors, pearl divers, and traders. Their ancestral homelands in the Sulu archipelago have vigorous tidal currents that flow from the Sulu and China Seas to the Celebes Sea. The first group in the archipelago to be converted to Islam possess a courage that is beyond doubt. Their bravery is supposed to be unquestionable. Therefore, the Tausug are often named Tao Maisug or brave people. One old Tausug proverb says, "Hanggang may buhay, may pag-asa," meaning never admit defeat as long as you live. Slave raiding had been practiced among some tribes in the Philippines before the arrival of the Western powers. It was legal during the 18th century. The arrival of Spanish and their interest triggered this activity. They would bore a hole through the captured people's palm and put a string into it. They used the people they capture as the boat rowers in raiding the Sulu Sea. Now here are the equipments used in raiding. Vessels or warships. Traditional war canoes of maritime Southeast Asia, historically utilized for sea raids. This ancient warship was 3 times faster than Spanish galleon. Lanung or wangas. These ships had a large, wide keel or tip for stability and 3 large cloth sails on sturdy, collapsible tripod-like mats. 24 to 27 meters long with 6-meter wide hulls or exteriors, had cannons mounted at the bow. Each vessel carried 100 to 150 men, a captain, a steersman, and warrior sailors and slaves to power the 34 oars each side, and captured local guides to help navigate unknown waters. Next one is garay. Smaller, faster, more maneuverable than wangas. They were the last fast attack boats of Samal raiding tribes. It was built from bamboo, wood, and nipa palm. It could carry more than 100 sailors. It was 25 meter long, 6 meter across, has 30 to 60 oars on each side, and housed a power magazine and cannon at the bow. Traditional native warships of the Balangini people in the Philippines, used for piracy by the Balangini and Ilanon people against unarmed trading ships and raids on coastal settlements in the region surrounding the Sulu Sea. The name means scattered or wandered in the Sama language of the Balangini, were smaller, faster, and more maneuverable than Iranon-Lanong warships. The last one is called the Salisipan, auxiliary support vessels, small boats designed for coastal raids. In reaching the coast, they usually hide their big boats and use salisipans to row into the shorelines and pretend that they are fishermen and harmless people. Equipments used in trading are handheld weapons. We have the barong, murukris, and kampilan. First one is moro barong, approximately 1 meter long sword with a single-edged leaf-shaped blade made of thick tempered steel. was used in close hand-to-hand battle to cut down Spanish firearms. Next one is called Morocris or Calais, a weapon of warfare and ceremony. Measures up to 1.2 meters in length, is double-edged and with either a smooth or wavy blade that could make quick work of any enemy in close combat, easy slashing, bone penetrating. Was not only carried by slave raiders into battle but also by noble and high-ranking officials of the southern sultanates. The last one is called the Kampilan, longest of the swords used primarily by the Ilanon. Heavy single-edged sword often adorned with hair to make it look even more intimidating. Also common to find with grooves cut onto the blade to indicate the lives it had claimed. And here are the other equipments used in raiding, which is called the body armor, used by wealthier raiders to protect themselves. It is a heavy armor made from caribou horn or steel plates and was molded to fit the body and held together with chain mail. It could deflect the blows from a sword. Now here's the timeline of the raiding and slave trading. December 8, 1720, Maguindanao King Raja Dalasi, King of Bulig and Maguindanao, launched a bloody attack on Fort Pilar, Zamboanga City together with the 3,000-strong forces of the Sulu Sultanates against the 600 Spanish soldiers. During the 1800s, at local Christian village Central Philippines, raids to the north were so commonplace that even the Catholic friars would stand up to protect their flock. Christian communities were far from main Spanish stronghold in Manila, so they faced the effect of an increasing, exceeding demand for slaves. 1830, a smaller, faster, and more maneuverable form of raiding boat called garay replaced the lanongs or wangas. 1845, an anti-slavery treaty was finally enforced in the Philippines and a colonial governor, General Narciso Claveria, Paglima Taupan's archenemy, was charged with the task of attacking and destroying slave raiding bases, including Taupan's Balangingi Fort. 1848, all for Balangingi Fort was destroyed, and 350 Samal men and women are captured alive. Paglima was amongst them, but they did capture his pregnant wife Nola. 1870s, after the war, the market for slaves of the Tausug economy dried up and was in marked decline because it depended so heavily on selling slaves for revenue. During the 1900s, Holo slave market southern Philippines, slave raiders journeyed beyond waters of the Philippines to neighboring Borneo, Java, and into the Straits of Malacca. 1958, Paglima decided to surrender and was brought to Zamboanga City by the Spaniards. 1909, Patian Island, southern Philippines. When the Americans colonized the Philippines, they inherited their predecessors' problem with the raiders. The thorn in the American side was a Tausug raider called Jakiri.